World Communications provides equal opportunities for all legally qualified political candidates in accordance with FCC regulations. If you are a candidate for public office and would like to request equal time regarding content that has aired, please contact our station directly. We will be happy to work with you to schedule appropriate airtime. For more information, please reach out to the station office. 860-456-1111.
Let's talk about it. Each Friday at this time, host Dennis O'Brien and Susan Johnson interview guests who are involved in their community. The show challenges conventional thoughts, probes for answers, remembers the past, imagines the future, and gets to the heart of the matter. Let's Talk About It is brought to you by Columbia Ford Kia, Route 6 in Columbia, Connecticut, and Gates GMC Nissan, Route 66, the Boston Post Road, North Windham, USA. Opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of WILI staff, management, or sponsors. Now, let's join our hosts with their guests, and let's talk about it.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. This is Susan Johnson, and I am here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and we have a fabulous, very special guest here for you today. His name is Ray Aramini, and he is a board member at the Soup Kitchen, the Covenant Soup Kitchen here on Valley Street in Willimantic. And he's also been a volunteer there since 1991, and maybe some of us remember when he did the Bike for Bread, trying to raise funds for people who need food. And so you have been all about making sure people get access to food for years and years, and I really appreciate your work and taking the time to spend with us to talk a little bit about what's going on at the Soup Kitchen today, because I think things are changing, and I wanted to make sure people understood all the great work you do and how you help all the people here in the region. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's quite an honor to be here. Soup Kitchen is a very important component in our community, and I'm truly honored to be a part of it.
Ray, a little history. I know that you started with the Soup Kitchen in 1991. I know the story. I've read about it, how you brought a lasagna in and you've never left.
Never left, right?
Okay, you're not just a volunteer, you're the volunteer supreme. Not only that, you're coach at rugby at Eastern, and I've met a lot of your players at events, and they're wonderful. You bring them in and they work.
They
help.
They're the best kids that walk around.
Yeah,
I'm very fortunate, yes.
Well, that's why I coached sports for 40 years with the Little League, because it is a character builder, any sport. Are you telling me that it's your turn, Susan?
I'm just saying, I just want to
Can I get rolling here?
Yeah, you can, but
Okay.
I just want to thank the rugby teams, because they always come to help at various occasions all over town, whether it's the Soup Kitchen or helping clean up or those kinds of things. Those are really great things. So I'm very pleased with their great work and their support of the town.
They're very much vested in our community.
Yes.
Susan mentioned Bike for Bread. I can still see you coming down the road and through the entrance to I think it was down at the Mills.
Yes.
When you came home.
Yeah.
And we were there among a lot of other people.
I'm glad I can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
That was the one day it rained on the road. There it was, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good. I'm glad that it didn't really end with that event, but rather it has rolled into the plunge for hunger and manifested that way, and it's still going strong.
Do you remember what year that was? Put you on the spot?
The first Bike for Bread was 1996 from the border of Canada to Willimantic, and then the second one was cross country.
Okay.
And that was in 2000.
That's the cross country one that I remember,
Yes.
I believe.
Yep.
And you had somebody with you who...
I had 3 people with me on the trip.
Yep.
Aaron Kupek.
Oh, yeah.
Famous Aaron Kupek, Eric Gamache as well, and then a woman named Barbara Dubriere, who is from California and did a lot of our at that time it was mostly just internet work.
Fantastic. So you've been on the board for all this time, and things have changed over the years. You want to talk a little bit about where it's come since you started there up until today? Just so it'll give you a chance to give us a nice soliloquy about what the history.
Well, I think that the Soup Kitchen is in the best shape that it's ever been, as far as leadership and organization and vision. When I started, it was still a ministry of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. We had use of the kitchen and the dining room, but we didn't really have much usage of the back rooms for storage, so all we were doing was doing a hot lunch and an extremely light breakfast. And our first motion towards more was when we started doing Friday night dinner, and then we started moving more and more into the storage areas. I believe it was 2006 we actually bought the building itself, because St. Paul's was in the they were in process of trying to look to have someone overtake the building itself. And
beautiful building.
Yes, it is. But with any old beautiful building comes a lot of old beautiful amount of work.
Yes,
and
it
so
does.
so we've been able to really keep on top of that. We've had great leadership over the years on the board of directors, but I think even more importantly, great leadership at the soup kitchen itself,
On a day-to-day basis.
where you have those are truly the people that need to receive the credit. They're the ones that are not only serving food every day, but I think more importantly, serving kindness.
Right. Being good to people.
It doesn't get more important than that.
Yeah, it's very important for people to feel respected, and people are definitely respected at the soup kitchen.
Well, I think that, Dennis, a lot of times our guests at the soup kitchen, and we do indeed call them guests,
Right.
Are anonymous.
Right.
Where you do not have a peer group, you do not have a support group. You've become a little bit of an island, with the exception of the soup kitchen, where you are accepted for exactly who you are and treated exactly, hopefully, the way you need to be treated.
Let me just say something about
Yeah,
that,
you
because I
can-
think
you
it's
can. Go ahead, Sue.
so important to have a sense of community somewhere. And the soup kitchen actually does that, and there's a lot of commonality so that people can work together to find their space and move forward. And I think that the soup kitchen is another place where that kind of support exists and that sense of community can exist. So I think we all need a sense of community somewhere. We need to be relating to a group somewhere, and having the soup kitchen is one way that we can do that. And also the people who actually do the work there have that sense, I think, of community, that they have that way of working. And I have a question about that in terms of the people who actually are able to go, the guests, but also perhaps some of the guests work with the people who do all the work as well.
Yes, indeed. We absolutely rely on volunteers, without question. It's a 4-person staff, but I mean, when we're serving 833,000 meals a year that move out of that building,
That's mind-boggling.
and that's a lot of that is pantry food going out the front door,
Sure.
going out the pantry house. We have hot lunch, hot dinner, hot breakfast, and it is an awful lot, but most often, that our guests are helping us to make this happen, and we would not be able to do it without the support of, like I said, the volunteers, but as well the guests that are volunteering.
You mentioned the change. I know you know that Susan and I both worked in legal aid for a long time. I was there 20 years as a lawyer. Susan was there pretty much almost that much time, and we worked with the low-income population. I got to tell you, back in my early days in legal aid in the 70s, there was no soup kitchen. There was not. I didn't see a lot of homeless people. We represented people who were getting evicted to try to keep them in their homes or find other new places for them. But obviously, you said, like you said, the soup kitchen has gotten better in a lot of ways. I mean, you have the capacity to serve more people. The thing is, the needs are greater. There's more people that need it, and the people that we served in legal services, we had income eligibility guidelines because we had so many people that needed our help, and a lot of those people are coming to the soup kitchen now. But there's also people of a higher income level coming to the soup kitchen because the cost of living is so difficult.
Yeah, that's a very accurate statement across the board. Nobody in high school aspires to say, when I graduate, I want to use a soup kitchen. What we're doing is we're meeting the need, as opposed to creating a program and then trying to fill that need. We react to what is needed from our guests, and hopefully with the ear to the ground and listening to what's being said, and I think equally as important, listen to what's not being said, we're able to hopefully meet those needs. It's, you have somebody that comes in and says, I'm hungry. You're not going to give them a Snuffleupagus doll. You're not going to do that. You're going to feed them a pierogi, or you're going to feed them a meal or something that they're able to actually consume, as opposed to giving forward something that's useless.
You don't have any paperwork. You're not going to check their income.
No, never.
Everybody who comes there is welcome.
No questions are asked. All are welcomed, always.
You're like the town of Windham. As I always brag about the town of Windham to people that don't live here, we welcome everyone here. The town of Windham is a welcoming town, and everybody's welcome, just like in the soup kitchen.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's another really important aspect. And I think that we have now we have a couple of things that were added. But I just wanted to back into when and I'm blanking on the father's name who created the soup kitchen initially.
Oh, Father Chip.
Yeah, and in the mid-1980s.
1981. Reverend McDowell.
Okay.
Malcolm McDowell.
Yep. His son's name was Chip.
Okay, very good. And I just thought, what had happened back then in 81 was one of the first budgets that Congress passed that cut back on services for people. And it was a vision that I think that we said, well, this little cut won't hurt. And then I think that, and I'm saying this nationally, the Republicans and Democrats, at that point in time, Reagan was the president and Tip O'Neill was the Speaker of the House. And it was a lot of people are complaining from around here and other places that we shouldn't be doing that because it's going to create problems. But there was a lot of discussion saying these low-income people were getting too much. And as time went on, as Dennis just said, we didn't have homeless people then like we do today, and we didn't have the numbers of people who can't afford food back then like we do today. And we have lost a lot of federal money over the years, and since then, since the 1980s, even more so, more cuts were occurring under Reagan, more under Bush. Clinton tried to make up for some of it, but a lot of things were lost that were kind of hidden, like the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. That was an entitlement program for women and children that was changed to a block grant, and then this state took a horrible situation and made it into even worse, where we were the second worst state in the country taking care of the women and children because they were 21 months and off for life. And so that adds to the need, and that was in the mid-90s. So just a little bit about those changes have really put us in a spot. And now we're faced with a real cost shift from the federal government to the states, to the towns like ours. And I just, give us a little sense of your history of that, because that's my over-the-top kind of history. Yeah.
What I can speak to is the fact that the shift that I've seen.
Yes.
Is that we went through the process of deinstitutionalization.
Uh-huh.
And with the deinstitutionalization, is as troubled and problemed and desperate as some of that was, it was a place where people could at times call home. Mm-hmm. Those are gone. Fairfield Hills is gone. Norwood State is gone.
Mansfield Training School.
All of these massive institutions, which were clearly not ideal.
No, they were not.
But
that's right.
But they were also a place that people could go with a low threshold to get in.
A lot of do-gooders did that, and they did it because they thought those places weren't ideal, and they thought people should be free and rely on themselves individually, and that's good in an ideal situation. But on the other hand, that's not reality for some people, and that you're right. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one of the reasons why homelessness kind of exploded, and that was one of the things that generated it. In addition to the difficulty with the economy getting worse.
And I can't speak to the fact if that was the catalyst behind it or not. I just know that it's very difficult to. We have a lot of folks that are coming to us with a very, not just hunger, but you're dealing with hunger and homelessness, mental illness, addiction, education that has not been fulfilled. There is a lot deeper need than there was back in the day, so to say.
Let me just
That's
say
beyond a doubt, Ray.
one little thing about that. And when I talk to people at the Capitol about the fact that we have the deinstitutionalization problem, and people really do want to have more control, but they don't have a place to put their heads at night. Even putting some people with the behavioral health disorders are too difficult to manage in the shelter. And so there is a real problem in terms of how we're managing that. There's a Supreme Court case called Olander that says that the behavioral health people with these disorders have the right to say no unless they're actually put into an institution by the probate court or a court.
Or Superior Court.
Superior Court, yes. But generally it's with a probate court.
Yeah.
And you should know more than me. You were the
I do. I was a judge for 12 years.
Judge O'Brien.
I preceded your good friend John McGrath.
Yes. And
We had a good run there, the two of us.
And so because of that, it brings kind of a quagmire, so to speak, of how to address people that have the behavioral health needs. Nobody really understands that they need to go through the court procedure for some people to keep them from freezing to death or being in a bad spot, and to help the shelters manage people who are more functional to get into housing quickly.
What I've found is that, by and large, people are not dealt with any level of kindness, and I don't care where that is.
Oh.
And that is universally the problem. Until we begin to treat people that each person matters, that each person matters as a person, I think we're going to be right up against that wall. I don't care if that's serving at a soup kitchen. I don't care if that's making sure that someone can get their head on a pillow, or someone getting the proper medication or detox the way that they need to. But if we are not coming from a place of love and kindness, I think that, and I'm not saying this to be ideal, be an idealistic person, but that's really the bottom line. It's going to come down to the relationships that you're going to be able to build, and not come at somebody, but rather come to somebody.
I think that's what the institutions actually provided. They had people there that served.
With all their problems.
Yeah.
They did have problems, but people were on the campuses. They had their 3 meals a day. They had a place to sleep, and they had therapists and nurses and doctors to talk to. And that was, not ideal, of course, but at least it was a place where people maybe would have to go in and out and in and out. And the other thing is the deinstitutionalization. Going back to the 1980s under Reagan, the funding under the Medicaid program for behavioral health was eliminated. So everything was shifted to the state back then. So it's just these subtle little...
We have not done a good job keeping up.
No.
No, not at
You're
all.
not understanding the financing.
Under any administration.
Correct.
That's
Correct. That's absolutely true.
There are differences of degree.
But we don't make
you're
it
right.
up. We don't try and make up what one administration did when they got rid of something and fix it over again.
I think a lot of times, unfortunately, those with the greatest need have the least amount of voice.
Right.
And I think that that's tragic.
Yes.
And so what you can do, what I try to do, and hopefully what we try to do at the kitchen, is install a little bit of an oasis where you can come and talk to somebody, and people know your name, and people give a damn about you, and hopefully can ease your pain a little bit.
Well, a big part of the problem is that, government has cut back a lot on spending. There's been a lot of pressure from certain groups of people in the polity in the country to cut back on government spending. Oh. And there aren't as many people working on these things in the government anymore, and that's part of it. And what you said about the interaction part is really important. People not having a voice. Well, when people are in a situation where they're so insecure, they're food insecure, they're housing insecure, they're not going to develop political skills, and they're not. They just don't. They're just trying to survive every day. And I always say that when people criticize poor people, when I was back in the day, and even now, because I understand what's going on. Those people's lives are just as hard as anybody else's. As anybody else's life, people can complain they're not making enough money doing their job, at a car dealer or something like that, or working for the state. But those people's lives are even harder because they don't have the basic needs. They have to rely on things like the soup kitchen and other services for basic needs.
I have only known hunger at my own terms.
Yeah.
And so to wrestle with that every day, or to wrestle with the fact that I have to ask for some Advil, or I have to ask for a glass of water, or I need to ask for a meal, or I have to ask for the bathrooms to be unlocked is very dehumanizing. So as a result, how do we lower that boundary? How do we lower that border? And I had begun to fall into that trap before the cross-country bike for bread, where I was looking at charts and maps and being all engulfed in statistics and numbers and percentages and all that other crap.
Yep.
And I was sitting at a table with a kid who was 11, and he said, "I have an idea." And I said, Matthew, I don't have time. I don't have time to get into this.
Right.
And he said, he put his head down, he was sulking, and I felt bad that I lit him up. And I said, "What's your idea? What is your idea?" And he said, "How about this, Ray? How about all you need to say is feeding hungry people is a very important thing."
You got it.
And it silenced me. And I get emotional talking about it because it was such a profound statement. And I find that 25 years later, I'm still tethered to that statement. And when we get distracted with all the other crap is when we lose vision of the fact that this person had a third grade teacher that they didn't like. They had a dog named Tippy, and they had a crush on Colleen Carey. They are somebody that was in your class. They are somebody that enjoyed Little League. They are somebody that was your neighbor, your friend, your family member, whatever it is. We cannot stop being kind.
That's right.
Well,
let me just say one thing about that, because
ahead,
I went
Susan.
to just, I just want to say, one of the things that we continuously say, we talk about spending when we talk about the low-income population or the people in general. We always say spending, spending, spending. Tax exemptions are spending, okay? Tax exemptions are spending. And tax exemptions have created our billionaire population. Without tax exemptions, we would not have our billionaire population. So we really need to put tax exemptions and spending in the same sentence, because they have gotten all the money and the low-income population is not getting the money that they used to get, so that we are getting a cost shift up to the billionaires and millionaires are getting the exemptions, while our low-income population, our middle-class people, are thought of, well, when we give them something, we're spending. No, they're both spending, and so we need to be able to balance those equities.
That's a good segue into talking about the current situation. We want you to talk about your current situation with the soup kitchen in terms of the difficulties that you're facing. It's always been difficult, and it's difficult especially for your guests. But what is the situation right now with, we know, Susan and I know quite well about, what's going on in the federal government, what's going on in the state government, whatnot. But tell us about how it's impacting your guests and your operation at the soup kitchen.
Well, what we used to get emergency federal food, TFAB, and what we've seen is a reduction of that. And this was surplus food, like back in the 70s and 80s. It was surplus cheese, surplus peanut butter, surplus milk, butter, whatever. That has expanded over the years, and it was a great source for us that's administered through Connecticut Food Share, and then comes to us. But that has been so vastly compromised at this point that we are estimating that over the next year we're losing 400 pounds of food per day. And that's, 150,000 pounds a year, which you can't make up.
I had no idea how that worked, Ray, and I still don't. And the way it was delivered to you at the soup kitchen or you picked it up or whatever.
How it would work.
Tell us how it works.
On a certain day of the week, and this is usually administered by, our executive director, Kimberly Clark, who is the best thing.
I'm glad you mentioned her.
Who is the best thing in my years?
I'm sorry I didn't mention her earlier.
Best thing that has happened to the soup kitchen as far as organization, vision, and compassion.
Sure.
A list will come out as far as, you have access to 3-pound bags of raisins, 1-pound bags of raisins, some powdered milk. There's walnuts this week. We're having canned pork, whatever it is. And you're able to shop, and sometimes you're paying, sometimes it's for free, whatever it is. And you go through the list, and that list has progressively gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, as it will continue to.
How does the food come to your
Through
Your
food
building.
share, what we do is we will order online. We'll
Yeah.
say, okay, you
Okay.
can have up to, 300 pounds of canned pork.
Right.
We're making that up.
You ask for what
Three-
you what
we
you-
ask.
what you-
There's
your
an
needs are.
there's an allocation given, and
Yeah.
then it's usually
Oh, I
then
see.
it's delivered by food share.
Yeah.
And you're obviously paying for gasoline costs. That was
Sure.
eliminated during COVID, but reinstated now. And then we're able to unload it off the truck. It's unloaded for us. Then we bring it in the building and then distribute it as needed.
So they tell you what's available, and then you order.
We pick what we want.
And does that food come from local farmers or?
No, it's the food is done at the national basis. Some of
Okay.
it obviously was local.
Okay.
Sent a
Okay,
place,
but it's
canned,
not necessarily
processed, and then
local.
brought back. So, we don't have a big raisin crop here in Connecticut. Maybe Oklahoma, but not a
Right,
huge
right,
raisin crop
right.
here.
I asked that.
Oh yeah, you're shipping that all this way, and the Norwegian rats are eating it up. So what we want to do is much local as we can, but at the same
Sure.
time, we have also expanded our reach as far as where we're going to do food rescue. We're going to Costco in South Windsor. We're going to
Yep.
Midwest Food in Manchester. We have a great relationship with Aldi's, great relationship with Walmart, great relationship with Big Y and Stop and Shop. These are people that have been amazing. I look, IGA and how they stepped
Yep.
up, and forever the Willimantic Food Co-op. So our community is very good at taking care of us,
Okay,
and they
so-
always have been, as long as they know what our needs are.
Okay, so they deliver and
No, well,
or you
we
just-
pick up.
you go get it.
Volunteers pick it up.
Okay,
yes.
okay. Because the reason I asked that question about local farmers is I was reading about, I always try to prepare for these shows. So I did some reading today, and I read about how local farmers are impacted by what's going on at the federal level because they have stuff to sell.
Correct.
To food share, and then food share can pass it on to you. That's all I was thinking.
Part of the problem
Yeah.
that we've noticed is the fact that, so we go to Costco and a wonderful donation of 600 pounds of
Yeah,
strawberries.
they're pretty good.
Shelf life of that is very limited.
Yeah,
so
sure. Yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to a food share Connecticut, a food bank, food share or TFAP has canned pears.
Canned stuff.
So
yeah.
you'll look at the shelf life of a canned pear
Yeah.
versus a box of strawberries. So you're inundated. You become very limited.
You have to become very smart in how you do that.
Have to cook. But one of the questions that I have is when we go back to food share, we are going to be looking at why is food share diminished so over the last few years? What happened that made it so that they're not providing or
They're providing. It's the fact of what's coming in available from the national level.
why? Why is it
Because
limited?
it has been systematically cut at the
Well,
federal
it was
level.
cut by
How is
Doge.
At the federal
frankly.
level.
No, well, Doge has just started. Was this? Are you speaking of just this year?
Yes.
Oh, so it did start with Doge.
Yes.
$2 billion nationwide.
I
they cut.
understand. I'm just trying to figure out the time
So
frame.
we're seeing now the trickle down effect.
trickle
of that,
down.
where you're seeing a smaller and smaller
trickle.
a smaller pool to be able to draw from.
And how did they cut that? I mean,
I don't know.
because
I don't
They
know
cut it administratively, Susan. They cut the budget. This is money that's already been budgeted for the USDA, the Department of Agriculture. They cut it out of their. They just took it. They impounded it.
and so there's food there, but there's just rotting. Is it rotting?
I don't
No
know.
money there.
I know, but there had
I
to be
don't know
food
if it's.
before.
I don't know if it's actually rotting. I just know that our ability to gain it through that traditional means of food share is not there.
Yeah.
It is shrinking and shrinking.
Well, I
Because
looked
the
it up
farmer,
today.
the farmers were still producing the same amount of food, perhaps.
Sure.
And if they were producing the same amount of food, so instead of having it go
I don't
to
know where it
food
went.
share,
I don't know where it went.
So who knows? I mean,
It's a mystery.
I know
that's-
that we don't have it, and I know that we don't have it.
That's the most
on
important.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure it
local
out.
tables and local miles.
I haven't had a chance to drill down to that extent. But let me just say this because,
Don't do that.
because you do that. So
What is that?
It's break time.
That's what that meant?
Yeah, we take a break in the middle of the show. We're gonna.
now you're interrupting me. You interrupted me. So now I've been interrupted, Dennis. So we have this going on all over the country. I was in a meeting with women legislators from all over the country, and they're all talking about the fact that food share isn't available. So it's a national issue. It's not just happening in Connecticut.
Right.
It's not, but so that's where we are now. We'll be talking about this when I go to meet with them in November, and I just wanted to see what how it's impacting us, because I do want to send this information to the governor, let them know that this is happening nationally, and then maybe there's a way for us to find out what happened to the food that the farmers produced this year, but administratively couldn't distribute. Okay, this is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very special guest, Ray Aramini, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, Dennis O'Brien back here on Let's Talk About It with Susan Johnson, my co-host, and our very special guest, Ray Aramini, the super volunteer at the Covenant Soup Kitchen. He's here to talk about, the situation that the Soup Kitchen is in now, as well as the guests of the Soup Kitchen, the people who are in need of help with food. And we've been talking for a little while about it, and we're going to get into the current situation and talk about how people can help and help and what the needs are locally. And the needs are much more than they were when I was in legal aid, and the Soup Kitchen, when the Soup Kitchen started in the early 80s with Malcolm McDowell, and the needs were not as great. The economy was just much better. We were still benefiting at that time from the World War II economy. To tell you the truth, I went to UConn for almost nothing. And now it costs a lot of money, and so it's a different world now. And to being poor back then, I know so many people, Ray Aramini, that I knew that were a low income back then, poor people who are now teachers, a couple of lawyers, a doctor. I mean, people. It was easier. There was a lot more mobility, and that there is today too. People still do it today, but it's a lot harder. Because it's a lot hard to make ends meet today.
I would agree. I also think that what the Soup Kitchen can do is try to meet the needs of the community, and we're not going to obviously be able to send people to college, but we certainly can if you're having trouble while in school, we certainly can help. We can certainly feed you.
It's incredible how Bob Dylan had a song called "A Simple Twist of Fate." How just a simple thing can turn your whole life around. Somebody that believes in you, somebody who treats you the right way, it can just turn your whole life around. It can make your attitude change, and you just pick yourself up.
Ripples in the water.
That's right, ripples in the water.
I think we are now in the process at the kitchen of doing an expansion, where we're widening the building. I don't know if you both remember, last year we had a trouble with the walk-in cooler that failed right after Thanksgiving.
Remember that.
And the long-term solution to that problem was to actually have a level of redundancy with the cooling systems, the walk-in freezer and the walk-in cooler. But in order to do that with limited space, we had to move it out. So the positive side of that is the fact that we will have a new walk-in cooler and a redundant walk-in freezer, and then on the second floor with that we will have confidential medical offices.
Great.
Which will be really good because we do so many clinics there.
That is really good.
But again, you go outside and you're looking for that money tree and start picking. It's pretty lean right now. So we rely on our community, and our community has been exceptional.
This is an exceptional community. I keep telling people, this is why I'm here. Why I've always lived here since I moved here I grew up in New Britain, but Susan and I have been here since 1974, and we love it here. And Matt, our producer, Matt Rupar, is telling me that he's got a PSA that you did, and I heard it this morning, and it's excellent. So we're going to take a little time to play that PSA. You want to say what it is?
Yeah, Keith Rice from WILI produced this, and it was, I think it's it's clearly not spoken well, but it's very heartfelt. The message is very direct, and the fact that we are in existence at the Soup Kitchen because of the generosity of our community, both with their time, with their financial donations, and with their food donations, and being advocates. And I'm hopeful that this PSA has helped to remind people of the need of those that are having trouble making ends meet.
Got my attention when I heard it this morning. We're going to hear it now.
This is Ray Aramini. I have the privilege of speaking on behalf of Covenant Soup Kitchen. We need your help. We find that we are in uncharted territory as far as the demand within our community rising, as well as the amount of food that is actually coming in. Due to federal budget cuts, we are anticipating losing upwards of 150,000 pounds of food this year at Covenant Soup Kitchen alone. That is more than 400 pounds a day. Food that will not be on our plates. Food that will not be on the plates of our neighbors, our friends, or our family. Food that will not be on the plates or in the mouths of the children of our community. You can help stem this tide of hunger. Please bring your donations to 220 Valley Street, Willimantic. It's in the back of the Gray Stone Church, and look for the door that says CSK Deliveries, anytime between 8:30 and 4:30 p.m. If you are unable to drop off food, monetary donations are gladly accepted. Go to covenantsoupkitchen.org and click on the donate button, or just mail us a check. Please help if you can. Please do not think for 1 minute that your donation, no matter what size it is, does not matter. All donations matter. All people matter. Thank you.
Excellent.
That's excellent. Very, very nice.
It is.
Great job.
It's thank you, Keith.
Yeah.
But I think what it does is encapsulates the entirety of the need that we have, and that need has not changed. That need will be here tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now, long after I'm gone. And we need to be kind. We need to make sure that we are taking care of our neighbors, our friends, and our family, and those that we don't know.
Could you tell us how people can make a contribution?
Go to covenantsoupkitchen.org. Look for the donate button. And if you're looking to donate food, just come on over. Go to the like said, 220 Valley Street. Usually come up Walnut Street. It's the easiest way in, and look for the door that says CSK Deliveries. Any non-perishable foods. We love diapers, toiletries, incontinence supplies, salt and pepper. You name it, we need it. If you can use it in your home, we can use it there.
Okay, very good.
Fantastic.
Thank you. That's good to know, and I know you've said that in the past, and it's very, very good for us to be able to make a donation, a financial donation, or people to be able to drop off some food.
I've told this story before, and I hope I don't start choking up telling it again. During Christmas, I am blessed enough to be able to stand in front of Dunkin' Donuts dressed as Santa, collecting for the soup kitchen. And the number of stories that I've heard from people passing by that said, you have no idea how the soup kitchen has helped me out when I was in need. I remember one day being on West Main Street, and the sun was just about to drop, and the guys that I coach were there as Santa's elves collecting as well. And they had just left, and I heard a voice behind me, and it was a little boy, and he said, Santa, and I turned around, he was this little boy, and he was there with his mom. And he had a dollar bill folded in half long ways, and he just stood there, and the mother said, go ahead, honey, put it in the jug. That money is for people that need the soup kitchen, like we used to. And I lost it, and that night I had a rugby meeting, and I talked to the boys, saw that I was clearly moved, and I told them the story, and it was very quiet, especially for that group of boys.
Yeah.
And one of the sophomores, Nick, his nickname was Scooter, he just said, I guess that's why we do the plunge. And the plunge for hunger is a very, very fun day. It's jumping in the river on the first Saturday in February. It's like the boombox parade in the winter. But the reason why we're jumping in the river is because of that little kid named Jake that was putting $1 in a jug to be able to. What can I do? What can Dennis do? What can Susan do? What can our neighbor do?
Right.
And the bottom line is that we all can do something.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a matter of deciding to pick up the reins and drive that cart. That's all.
That's right.
You got a lot of people doing a lot, and it's never enough because the need is greater and greater all the time. The numbers of people that are in need, and also the cost of meeting the need. No question.
So some of the things you said, you have groups that get together and talk. Are there some things that you recommend, like healthcare things?
Oh yeah, across the board. Everything, whatever you need, whatever you have in your house. It could be a bag of rice, anything that's unopened and unused.
Okay.
Toilet paper, paper towels, diapers, deodorant, shampoo, toothpaste, pork and beans. I mean, across the board.
Sure.
Spam, yeah, without question, spam. Dennis will say.
I used to like spam sandwiches when I was a kid. I had those a lot because my family didn't have a lot of money. My parents didn't go to high school, and they were depression kids, and they were smart, but they were not educated. And but somehow we got by. I had a baseball glove. Nobody else in the neighborhood. One kid had a ball. One kid had a bat. That was it. I never owned a bat or a ball. not when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But you know what? It didn't matter to me because I was a kid and I had lots of friends. Now I'm cracking up because I remember those days and I had all those friends, and that's all that mattered to me.
Right. Well, that's
all that mattered. And that really reminds me of what you said about the soup kitchen providing, interaction, a warm interaction with people, and I think people need that. And I've been thinking, the other day I was thinking about how I've grown old, and a lot of the friends I had have passed away, and one of them was your friend, and you did a wonderful job, by the way, eulogizing him, Bob Horrocks. He was a friend of mine. That son of a gun talked me into serving as chief umpire for the Little League for 5 years, and I really was preferred to coach.
And here's
I miss him and Jeff Smith and all these people that are gone. And I don't have. And sometimes I tell her, I say, I don't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah, and I think the likes of a Bob Horrocks or a Jimmy Rayner are people that give so quietly and give so humbly, and just are ever. They're just goodness.
Yes.
I'm very fortunate. The likes of Edith Pregg.
Absolutely.
Those are the
we
people.
love Edith.
Those are the people that
we loved Edith so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Jimmy Rayner, he's our dentist. We both go to him, and I gave him a hell of a time when I was playing ball. I was pretty tough on umpires. And Jimmy, that's how I met Jimmy, was as an umpire. And I see him, his son, he's got a great son. His son is terrific. He's taken over his business.
Sure did.
He's a dentist. And that you got David Foster.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Johns.
I'm surrounded by giants.
You are.
So I'm
you
very,
are.
I'm
There's
very,
no doubt about
very
it.
Fortunate.
Very,
Very
very
fortunate.
lucky.
I mean, this is, like I say, this is a great community.
Indeed.
And you've been here all your life in this area. I think you grew up in Columbia. I remember I went to your dad's wake, and I was overwhelmed by the number of people that were there.
20 years yesterday.
Wow,
Oh,
it
my
seems
goodness.
like it was only yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was
Still
a
tough.
great.
I remember I was standing in line next to Clyde Washburn, and he's gone now.
Yep.
Another guy that was a friend of mine, and but life goes on, and you have to deal with one day at a time.
Right.
So,
And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing at the Covenant Soup Kitchen.
Amazing work there, and it's wonderful that we have the opportunity there.
As much as I'm able to spend time there, I mean, without question, I take my hat off to the staff that is there, dealing with every type of incredibly bad and good situation on a daily basis and in the blink of an eye. It's miracles happen every day there, and they are the ones that are generating those miracles. So the staff at Covenant Soup Kitchen cannot be thanked, cannot be praised, cannot be held in high esteem enough. They're superheroes.
Absolutely. I
Go ahead.
would like to
ahead.
ask a question.
Yeah.
So in terms of the people who are the staff, they are certainly helping with the volunteers, training them. What kinds of things do volunteers do? And if people have an interest in some of the things that they're doing, they might want to get in touch with tell us about that.
Volunteers are across the board. We have volunteers that are prepping the meals for the day. We have volunteers that are cleaning. We have volunteers that are going out to the supermarkets and receiving and getting food. That's why I hooked Jimmy Rayner into that one. We have volunteers that are doing the emergency food pantry. We have people that are doing homebound delivery of foods that are there. We have people that are moving senior box. We have people that are gladly unloading trucks. We have people that are volunteering on the board of directors. We have people that are doing Sunday bag lunches. You can do whatever you want. I very much encourage people to email and say, listen, I want to volunteer. And 4 hours a week, or 4 hours in a clip, can really, make a difference in not only the lives of those that you're going to be, benefiting, but rather your own.
Right.
I mean,
sure. It's very fulfilling.
It's very great to be able to do that and to have people. Now, what would people be able to do? So you say they pick, do you have like a schedule?
What I would do is email Covenant Soup Kitchen, look for volunteer opportunities on the website, covenantsoupkitchen.org, and just go from there. Email the people that are hopefully going to plug you into those positions.
Yeah, it's on the website. I looked at the website.
Because a lot of the things that people do, they could be based on a schedule.
Without question. And schedule and routine is really what we need to depend on.
Right, yeah, because I know when I volunteered for different organizations in the past, it's always been, they do the schedule for a month, say, and
Right.
then you sign on for that particular day or however often you can
Yep.
do that. And now do the volunteers have times when they meet?
Yep, or not meet, but rather like if there's a grouping of people that are coming on a Monday morning to cook, Tuesday morning to cook, Wednesday, that, or the people that are doing the emergency food pantry on certain days. So yes, there's schedule and slots, and we try to fill those all up. And we also entertain, obviously, groups of people, youth groups, college groups, all that.
Now you mentioned the rugby group, and they're wonderful, and you see them volunteering all around the town here
Yes,
for
yes,
so many
indeed.
different things. Are there other places at the university where you get volunteers, or is
The Center for Karim Ismaili is the new president
Yes,
at
he's
Eastern.
wonderful.
Yeah, he's great.
Truly a wonderful man.
He's
Yes,
been
he
in
is.
that chair a couple times now.
And he has joined our board of directors, which is
Oh.
which is
Oh,
nice.
fabulous.
But
Oh, yeah. He's a doer. He gets
He
things
is,
done.
and he has really embraced the model that the Center for Community Engagement
Yeah.
at Eastern has put forward, and the center has been wonderful to us, as has Eastern. And so, they are exceptional neighbors, and I think that to have that interaction is wonderful.
I think it's fabulous. That's a wonderful thing to know. How about the coordination with the homeless shelters? How are we? We've got the Holy Family Shelter, we have the Domestic Violence Shelter, and now we have the Project Hope. How are we coordinating there?
What we try to do is we try to supplement wherever we can. We are good at making food, and so what we do is we try to stay, quote unquote, in our lane
Okay.
and provide food. If need be, we've worked with all of those organizations very closely as far as dropping off food, picking up food, trying to supplement what they're doing. When COVID hit, I think it was probably the brightest that Covenant Soup Kitchen to that point had shined. Everything closed up. There was
Right.
no place to go to the bathroom.
Sure.
There
Right.
was no place to wash your hands. And
Yep.
so what we at Covenant Soup Kitchen did under the direction of Kimberly Clark was we put porta potties outside. We had hand washing stations. We put tents up outside. We were
Wow.
able to serve coffee through doors. And then we did that for over a year and a half.
Wow.
And
Wow.
to be able to do that, I think, was a reaction to the need.
Yeah.
And part of that was when a lot of the guests were formerly at then No Freeze. We brought meals to hotels to be able to do that. We were doing that 2 and 3 times a day. But I think that's when you see the true chutzpah of an organization is when you're up against it and they don't fold, but
Right.
rather they expand.
Right.
They expand.
Yeah.
And I think that's you cut away all the fat and you look at it and say these people are serious and these people have embraced the mission and are truly finding themselves in a position where this is dangerous.
So that speaks a lot to the board of directors, the volunteers.
I think it speaks.
the staff.
I think it speaks solely to the staff. I think what
Staff.
it is. I think what it is that they said we will remain open,
Yeah.
and then everyone followed suit.
Yeah.
And that I think that it was just. It is. In that tough moment, the decision was made, and it was the right decision to make, and we've moved on from there. And so, okay, so we're staying open. How are we going to do this? And then we found out how to do it as we went. Made a lot of mistakes along the way, but we figured it out.
And that just shows when you have a difficult situation or has things change, the most intelligent groups are the ones that are able to make those adjustments. With people, with organizations, with all these different things, adjustments are so necessary. Making adjustments are things that we need to kind of incorporate into how we think.
I also think, Susan, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm going to. We need to turn the table. We need to be on the side of the person that's hurting. We need to be able to say, okay,
Yes.
if I was hungry, if I was cold, if I was lonely, if I was abandoned, how would I want to be treated? And a lot of times we do not treat people well. And so what I saw at Covenant Soup Kitchen is that they embraced the model of how would I want to be treated? I'd want to be treated with dignity and respect and kindness and humor. And
Yes.
that the totality of that was met. And it is I couldn't be more proud.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Great to have you on the show. We've got a minute left, and so it's your turn to say whatever you want to say to the listeners.
we haven't covered.
Anything, Dennis?
Anything at all.
Anything you want.
You got it.
Well,
You got it.
what I would do is I would just encourage people to come down. Let's see your shadow down there. You know, we've been in the neighborhood for a very long time, and we are very grateful for you. And I would like people to come down, take a visit. You know, have a tour. Roll up your sleeves, wash your hands, and start cutting some carrots. There is something that everybody can do. We are very, very grateful. Go to covenantsoupkitchen.org and do what you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray Aramini. This is Dennis O'Brien, Susan Johnson, Ray Aramini, and our incredible
Thanks,
producer, Matt Rupar.
All right,
Okay,
Rupar.
we'll be back next week with another great show. Thank you.